Well, it's been a while since we last visited Voyager. Where should we even begin?
So, Harry throws it in gear, floors the gas, and backs us right through a burrito stand.
Ah, with the shame of Harry Kim, of course. Even when not here, everything is about what a wiener he is. God help him if he had an episode about him. It'd be something even worse, like just sitting at his station with incurable hiccups the entire episode. My people have a legend of how that can be cured by being scared.
Ooh, I could do that one.
No, thank you, Captain. It's fine. Well, Harry, have you tried... Ah! No, it didn't work. Well, I find the scariest thing is... Good try, but it's not any better. You will die alone, unloved, and unmourned.
Hey, look, he's cured. I gotta remember that one.
Paris and Torres may, or may not, be having a romantic dinner. I mean, on the one hand, there's candles and things look rather special. On the other, they're in the mess hall, where Seven is free to gawk at them, and Neelix free to interrupt them. So the umpire could really call this one either way. Neelix is here because he's in charge of handling an important ambassador. I mean, managing him, I hope. I hope he's not planning to feel up the ambassador, although nothing's off the table with Neelix.
You're taking this mission very seriously.
Well, the Kadi are easily offended. The captain's leaving their representative entirely in my hands while she's at the colony.
Ah, so she's trying to force negotiations to fall through. Clever move. Torres confronts Seven, who confesses that she is researching human mating behavior by observing the two of them.
Stardate 52648, 0300 hours, intimate relations resume. How the hell do you know when we're having intimate relations?
There is no one on Deck 9, Section 12, who doesn't know when you're having intimate relations.
Also, no one can explain to me why a trumpet would even be involved in the affair. Torres is peeved and starts making threats, and after the titles, Janeway tells Seven to knock it off.
This is a starship, not a nature preserve. Oh, I'm missing a pip.
You asked me to broaden my knowledge of human behavior.
I'm not questioning your goals, Seven. Oh, it's your methods. Shouldn't be taking field notes on the crew.
I much prefer tagging and then dissecting them while they sleep.
Have you ever considered trying it yourself? Romance, I mean.
There's a lot of fanfic that said you and I would pair up, and I'm willing to try anything if you get me drunk enough.
Do not require a romantic relationship.
So why'd you collect 30,000 gigaquads of data on the subject?
Christ, what have you done? Gathered all the porn in the universe into one file? It's going to become self-aware at that concentration. Probably transform into some kind of Skynet version of Quagmire. But no more time for that. We've got to give the official greeting to the visiting dignitaries. And afterwards, Janeway and Tuvok receive the sacred burp cloths. So they'll go to the settlement while Tobin gets stuck hanging out with Neelix. But then they're supposed to stay away from any source of pleasure, so that's a good call, I'd say. Well, this lasts about 2 minutes as Tobin wants to sample some spicy food in the mess hall to expand his palate. Although with Neelix's kitchen, his palate is probably going to have to find some place to hide. Meanwhile, Seven winds up discussing the thing with Torres during her checkup, so the doctor thinks her research might be more than just scientific curiosity.
Perhaps there's a reason that hasn't occurred to you. You're a woman, Seven.
Is that an observation or a diagnosis?
Looks like you've got a case of the ovaries. I prescribed 2 hours of Desperate Housewives and a glass of red wine. Seven finally agrees that she should start learning about dating, and the doctor will be her instructor.
Klingon males initiate courtship by biting the female. Here we see two Bolians getting to know one another. The courtship rituals of some species remain shrouded in mystery.
For instance, here is Ensign Kim crying into a pillow while watching Totally Spies. No idea what that one means. And here's Tom Paris doing something with a trumpet.
Here we see how Fortress Ovum is besieged by countless little warriors.
I like to think of it as a metaphor for sending your daughter off to college.
I am familiar with the physiological processes of sexuality.
I have 30,000 gigaquads of data on the subject, though this 2 girls 1 cup appears to have been misfiled. The doctor tries Sandrine's as a place to practice.
And you've come here to meet the man of your dreams.
Dear sir, your collection of colonoscopy snapshots does not meet the legal definition of art. Please stop sending it to... Sorry, wrong pad. After the small talk goes nowhere, she's sent off to try and talk with one of the holograms. I swear I've seen him somewhere before. Maybe it's because he looks like the love child of Paul Simon and Chris Kattan. This was really bothering me, so I finally went and looked it up, and he was Arthur on the live-action Tick show. I know I'd seen him. Happens a lot doing this. I get this little itch at the back of my brain that says, I've seen you somewhere before. Sometimes I'm wrong, I admit. Get rather nervous when the actor is black or Asian, though. When it happens, it's a relief to say, yes, I did see them before. I'm not a racist. Where was I? Oh yeah, Tom shows up, if only to laugh at all of this, especially given that the doctor is the one teaching about romance. So to save his ego, and as we've seen, that's a lot of ego, the doctor says that he'll have Seven on a real date that will go beautifully. So the two place a bet on that, to be settled at the ambassador's reception.
It seems to be evaporating in my mouth. The recipe includes a catalytic agent designed to do just that.
Assuming there's any food left for it. He also notices something that's not on the menu.
In our society, males and females work separately, but I can see the wisdom of your approach. Promotes a more stimulating environment.
How dare you, sir? Women on this ship are not objects to stimulate you while they work. Now, let's get back to 7 of 9 in her catsuit. The doctor tries to explore common interests that she might have with others, and gradually they get to the topic of music, with its mathematical basis being appealing to a Borg. So they try to sing You Are My Sunshine.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray.
Janeway's going to have some competition at the next talent show. Let's hope they don't meet with an accident first. Well, Seven needs to pick someone for a first date.
I didn't know you had any interests.
Neither did I, but apparently they include astronomy, quantum mechanics, and music.
I play the clarinet, you know.
You are not one of the candidates, Ensign.
That's fine. There's always Alex, Sam, and Clover waiting for me. So, the lucky winner is Chapman. Harry grudgingly approves anyway. I figured he was there to rubbish all of the other candidates, so that surprised me. And not in the usual way, where I wonder how he made it this far in life without being left tied up in a locker somewhere. Chapman is caught off guard at being asked out, but says yes, after she so easily grabs his tool. I mean, the one that he dropped here. Come on, there's nothing suggestive about this image at all.
7, please state the nature of the medical emergency.
I have a date.
Is it with Mr. Paris? Because there may not be enough time to inject you with every inoculation you'll need. Speaking of which, when Tom gets wind of the date, he scoffs. Chapman is notoriously nervous around women, and Seven has a personality that would intimidate Vin Diesel. As the doctor explains how things will go swimmingly, Paris observes that the doctor seems a little infatuated, which is dismissed as being ridiculous. Now, let's get you into that special outfit.
Try shaking your head a little bit.
Now, push your boobs together while you do it while biting on your index finger. Yes, that's good. So Seven shows up in a dress replicated for the occasion. The doctor supposedly designed this for her just in case. Funny, I can accept Paris knowing commando tactics, master piloting, and the entirety of human history, but the idea that Doctor is a fashion designer, I just can't take that on board. The man wears the same clothes 99% of the time. It's like finding out the best swimmers in the universe are Jawas. But she shows up, much to the surprise of Chapman, who thought his friends were pranking him. But with his nervousness and her apprehension, things aren't going terribly well.
Garson.
Server, report to this station. We require your assistance.
You bellowed, madame? Well, they get the lobster and... Would madame care for a garden hose? Chapman suggests dessert, which makes Seven fear that he's trying to speed through their date, and then suggests dancing, which is something that she hasn't gotten to yet in her lessons, but he persuades her to give it a try. She's a little uptight. I'm sure you're shocked to learn that, but he persuades her to just work with him, let him lead. Oh, that looks like serious damage. He's going to be out of dating for this season for sure. You don't bounce back from a career-damaging injury like that.
I have failed.
Nonsense. Even Romeo and Juliet hit a few snags at first.
But then they got it together and committed suicide. See? There's hope for you yet. The doctor decides to teach her how to dance. After all, there's no way she can yank his arm off, so it's a good way to get down the important point. Not unless you're hoping to get a black belt in ballroom dancing. Your river dance kick is impressive, but it is no match for the fierce strike of my martial art, for I have trained at the feet of Master Chubby Checker himself. Well, Sandrine seems to be very popular, because the ambassador is discovering the other pleasures between a man and a woman and another woman, and several dozen containers of Cool Whip, and a trumpet. Seems the ambassador has had an epiphany, denying all stimulation sucks. Still, Neelix manages to drag him to his own reception, although the doctor isn't having quite the same problem with Seven. She is resistant about going, but he invites her to join him, and she agrees, technically making him her date for the evening. Things go swimmingly with them, actually, but that's only because next to the ambassador, everybody looks normal.
Is it my imagination, or is our guest of honor drunk?
Because if one thing leads to another, I don't want to be accused of taking advantage. Well, Seven navigates the affair rather well, even proposing a toast when prompted, so Tom compliments the doctor on a job well done and admits that he has lost their bet. Well, Seven doesn't take kindly to people wagering on her and storms out, but not before the ambassador makes a lewd comment that nearly starts a holy war against the Borg. Seems that, like Seven, he has a vulnerability to synthahol, something shown previously and even commented on this episode. Seven can't handle synthahol, so naturally the one person who can't solve this problem would be Seven.
It may be possible to encode some of my nanoprobes to assimilate the synthahol molecules.
Why am I not surprised? You know, even leaving aside what I had said, if you want to argue that there is re-encoding getting around that problem, this is the worst use of nanoprobes ever. You're going to assimilate him so you can sober him up. You're going to use something you once used to raise the dead for this purpose. This is something you wouldn't put into a parody because it's too obvious of a parody. This is like inventing the lightsaber so you can use it to shave. Anyway, the doctor reconciles with Seven, but it's clear by now that the doctor has developed a crush on her. So he asks Paris what, hypothetically, he should do. And Paris, hypothetically, mocks him terribly. Actually, he gives him some friendly advice and then slips back to the party. And the next morning, Neelix tells the ambassador that if questioned about sampling forbidden fruits and giving in to temptation, lie his ass off. All you've got to do is believe it. I mean, look at me. These rubes think I'm a survival expert, and it's a wonder I can use indoor plumbing. And the big joke is that the head weirdo shows up and says indulging a bit among outsiders isn't forbidden. So ha. But the negotiations are saved. We'll go sign those treaties wearing our sacred onesies now. And in the conclusion, the doctor gives roses to Seven and confesses his love for her. Only it's a hologram. This is just a dry run that's going to be extremely dry, as Seven has hit the reset button on all that romance stuff. So he decides to just pine away his time in Sandrine's The End. Post-episode follow-up. Stupid Neelix moment is the fact that he's an ambassador at all. If nanoprobes are required to undo the catastrophe that happened on your watch, your post should be changed to Beefeater. We have a burn baby burn for Harry Kim's attempt to get Seven on a date. Crash, burned, there is no one walking away from the flaming wreckage. Final score for Someone to Watch Over Me is 7 out of 10. It's a stronger episode, but too much predictability and even more filler prevent this from being a real classic that it could have been. Though the Doctor's infatuation with Seven at least feels more organic. You know what I mean. But yeah, the script handled its humanity just fine. But the comedy was unimpressive, thoroughly wasting the presence of Scott Thompson in the story by giving him nothing to work with other than stretch this gag out. I despise Neelix, as is well known and a point of debate on the forums, but Ethan Phillips is a skilled comedy actor. Scott Thompson is a skilled comedy actor. There's every reason these two could have pulled off an effective double act if they'd had decent material to work with. Instead, it's down to Ryan, Picardo, and McNeil, who also directs, to do the heavy lifting for the episode, and they can only take it so far.
I'm afraid.